out of 10, like where do you stand on it? Like if you had to give it a something out of 10, what was your overall general opinion of the film?
Oh, I mean, it was something like a 3.
Oh, like a 3 out of 10.
Oh yeah, it was not good. Like when I
Okay.
like I think I might have left. Like I'm not a big, and I probably said this a couple of times. I'm not a big leave the movie kind of person. But there are a few movies where I at least thought about it, and this was one of them.
Wow.
Really, I think I probably would, because I went with my friend, who I don't know if he'll show up in the chat here or not. But if you see Wild Barley, he went with me to see the show, see the film. Then we went to a bar afterwards and had discussed it and had conversations about all other kinds of things and geekdom. It was fantastic. But I sat down, and if I wasn't having to do this review, I might have left.
Oh, wow.
Especially after the what was really the clincher was the divorce scene, followed up immediately by the next scene where he shows up to Josephine again. That's when Wild Barley, I noticed he was like checking his watch. And I looked over at him, and he looked at, he was checking his watch. He looked over at me. I looked over at him. And I was like, yeah, but I got to do this review on Tuesday night, so I need to watch the whole thing. And then as soon as I stood up, like when the movie was over and we stood up, I told him, listen, I think we would just be fantastic at being in Hollywood, because all you have to do is take something really, really interesting and make it boring. Like I could take something really interesting period of history and make it boring. I told him, I bet we could take Caesar's life. Let's do a movie about Caesar. I bet we could make him sound just dreadful. Like we could probably just make Caesar sound like the most dreadfully chewing cardboard kind of person we could. Because I said, it's like we said, all right, hey, let's make a movie about Napoleon. Let's just off the top of your head, let's make a list of all of the most interesting parts of Napoleon's life. And so you and I write down that list. It's like, okay, great. That's a list of things that shall not appear in this movie. And Wild Barley, that was my opening salvo before we'd even left the theater, as we were standing up from our seats and going to the exit. That was my opening salvo to Wild Barley. And he knows how much I love Napoleon.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, oh, I'm so glad you said that, because I was really afraid that I was going to have to break the seal in saying that this was not a good movie.
Oh, wow.
we laughed about that. So, yeah, overall, I am not a fan of this movie.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with Tom McCrad. It sounds like that's how I felt after The Last Jedi. When I came out, I just could not get over it, no matter how many ways I angled and thought and considered. I was just so frustrated with The Last Jedi. Now,
I'm starring other comments, by the way. I'm starring them, so I see other people. So when we come to, I'm seeing things I want to address later. So just because I missed past your comments doesn't mean I'm not. I'm starring some interesting ones to come back to. So I'm watching.
Positive Fandom is really putting an earmark in to talk about certain topics. So we want to make sure we get to those.
Absolutely. Yes, I starred that.
Now, I like this film better than you, although I don't think this was a great film. I give it closer to a 6 out of 10. There was a lot that I liked about it. There was a lot that I did not like about it. So I think in the end, I'm slightly favorable toward the film. However, there are certain things, there's certain directorial decisions, storytelling decisions, theme and topic decisions that I absolutely could not understand how they landed on and why they chose those to focus on. But there was other things I thought that this film did excellently. In general terms, and we can go into more detail later, I thought some of the casting was good. I thought some of the casting was okay. I thought the acting overall was generally good. I thought the cinematography was rather incredible. Costume design, incredible. This was filmed in 62 days.
That's incredible.
That's unbelievable. Personally, I was happy to see a historical epic again at the theaters. It seemed like no one was doing that anymore. And then this one came out. I will say I was pretty jacked after seeing the trailer. The trailer.
Well, I was too.
Yeah, the trailer looked historical epic. It really grabbed me. And I feel like what was in the trailer were the parts that I liked the most, except for a couple. There was a few historical inaccuracies in this that we should probably mention here and there. But overall, I thought the film was wrong to focus on Napoleon and Josephine. I think the film succumbed to some of the temptations, which I understand, in the modern day to include the woman's role, in this case, Josephine, her role in history, and to place a bigger spotlight on her. Great. I don't think it was a successful decision in this case. You know, some stories are not about you. So in this case, I don't think the story was about Josephine. I didn't need her in this that much. I wanted to know about Napoleon. And as a guy, I really appreciate and I'm drawn to great military commanders, specifically ones that are commanders who are considered tactical geniuses, which Napoleon was, if not one of the greatest tactical military leaders of all time. And we didn't really get much of that in this movie. And I thought that was, I think you said it earlier, to not use that it's a cliche to say it was a missed opportunity. But it was like, why leave that on the table? How could you leave that part out of this man's story? So that said, this was not a documentary. This was a movie. It is fiction. It is meant to entertain and tell a story. Whether that was successful or not is clearly debatable, but it is not a documentary. So I did want to make that distinction as well. It's not meant to be a perfect chronology in terms of perfect historical accuracy.
I want to make a couple points on that. First of all, regarding I do want to say that I did watch the trailer before I watched this, and I was really big on the trailer. I watched it several times, and I was like,
yes.
okay, I'm definitely going to see that. I did not watch anything else about the movie on YouTube or read anything about it, nothing, until I went to see it. And I still have not watched anybody else's review or read anybody else's blog or review or anything. I sealed myself off before I went to see it, and I have not watched anything else anybody has said until now. So you're hearing my opinions, or if I'm reading from somebody else's notes, you're hearing from their opinions. But I have not looked at what anybody else is saying about this